Now get more reaction from Cosatu's president, Zingiswa Losi. Ms. Losi, good morning and thank you very much for your time. Quite a lot was said yesterday. Before we become more granular, can you just give us your overall view as a Cosatu of that address by the president?
Thank you very much, Mfundi, for having us here, and greetings to the eNCA listeners. Look, we, as a federation, we want to welcome the State of the Nation address by the president, and we also note the various commitments to reduce and end load shedding, including that he has declared the state of national disaster on this issue, because we want to appreciate that our economy will not grow and jobs will not be created as long as we are not dealing with the issues of load shedding. But we also want to say that we expect to see real progress in the next 6 months, because we do not have the luxury of 24 months as a nation. But also on this issue of energy, we are hopeful that in the February budget speech, we want to see the finalization of the details of how the plan is in terms of reducing, for an example, the ESCOM debt by 50% at least, and also for government to empower the utility and to be able to deal with its challenges. But also, we also want to say that we would have expected the president to speak more about other state-owned entities in our country. We have the passenger rail freight network that is decimated by rampant cable theft, and the vandalism and arson that takes place, the fact that it affects workers when they must go to work, and the cost of living continues to go high. So we expected more for him to speak more in terms of the plan on how to deal with the state-owned entities. Mm-hmm. We also want to say that we are happy that the president made a commitment on the investment of 2 trillion when we have an investment summit, the target. But we want to say that in the absence of us addressing the issues of energy in our country, no investor would have the appetite to invest even a 1 trillion to this country in kind of in the economy that we have that cannot guarantee you enough energy for you to run your production.
Mm-hmm. You say you want to see a turnaround in at least 6 months. So that would be the short-term goal. Among the short-term goals, we heard that the president there committing the finance minister to at least being able to assist ESCOM here insofar as their bill or their funds for diesel. Are you heartened by that at least commitment to say there will be no more back and forth where Treasury will say we just simply don't have any more money?
Indeed, we have called for this. In 2019, Cosatu we drafted an ESCOM social compact. Part of the elements of that ESCOM social compact speaks to how this issue of dealing with the ESCOM debt can be tackled with. And we strongly believe that when this ESCOM social compact was adopted at NETLEC and also in government in 2020, had we had a government that looked into it and committed in addressing these issues, in implementing the ESCOM social compact, we think by now we would not be talking about this issue, but we're happy that the president has indicated that there is a commitment, and that when we listen to the budget speech, we are to hear from Treasury the allocation of addressing the debt that ESCOM is currently faced with.
Mm-hmm. Let's take you back to the declaration of the state of disaster at ESCOM. It's all that many people are now talking about. I'm sure you've been able to see the mixed views on it. There were those that were calling for it, but have backtracked, fearing that perhaps there will be an opportunity for others to loot. Your position now, having had a sense of the reaction of others, where some are critically questioning what can be done under a state of disaster that couldn't be done now.
Look, we called for it. We are happy that it is here. Of course, South Africans will have different reactions, not out of nothing, based on the experiences that we have had, which we also have that we are hopeful, and we are saying to the president that now that he has also said he is strengthening the state in terms of the law enforcement agencies, we want to see that this state of disaster that has been declared on ESCOM is not going to be a javelin throwing syndrome that we have seen during COVID, where politicians would then throw javelins in their own departments, and you have business people that have no experience in solving the crisis that South Africa is faced with, picking up the javelin on the other side. We are hopeful that we are going to ensure that we put stringent measures on addressing this issue. We cannot afford it. The only thing that we can do is to learn from that. And we are also saying as a federation, we don't have enough money to be placing commissions after commission just to address issues that should not have taken place in the instance. So we are saying to the president that
because apologies for interjecting, because many now heard yesterday that there will be some sort of a massive rollout of solar panels for particularly the indigent. Now, in that instance, many people can become fearful and say, if we're going to have a project of that magnitude, watch the commissions that will come after that.
Indeed, that is why we are saying procurement processes must be stringent. We shouldn't take any chance. If the president knows what is good for all of us, and him as the head of state, it is to ensure that the procurement processes that are going to ensue during this process are going to be, checked throughout when the process starts until the process comes to an end. We cannot afford to have companies that have never had an experience on energy all of a sudden booming up from being a hair salon to becoming an energy company. All of a sudden, those people now are experts in delivering these things. So we have the black industrialists. We have people that are already in the field. What we are saying is that we cannot afford to wink at this point. Energy crisis is for, the disaster that it creates in our country. It's going to create a permanent bleak future for the next generation if we do not address it. And it's going to take all of us. It's going to take business people, because the challenges that we have of coal in this country, it is not just because ESCOM alone or politicians. It is because there are business people who are conscious of the fact that they are providing bad quality coal to ESCOM that has led us to where we are. So we are saying business people, ourselves as labor in this country, community, and government, we all need to play our role in ensuring that we take this country out of the crisis that it's finding itself.
So the social compact is necessary, not to conflate party and state, but I want to tackle a bit of politics now. Your partner, your alliance partner, the African National Congress, at its conference, had resolved to move ESCOM to DMRE for alignment, as we had heard that they wanted to align and have the ministry that was in charge of our overall energy strategy to be the one that oversees ESCOM. But it was not to be. We heard yesterday the president said there would be a new ministry that will deal with electricity stationed in the presidency. Your views?
Look, we heard it yesterday as the announcement was made. We are not sure exactly the details of that. What we had expected and which we called for in 2019 was for the president to phase out the Department of Public Enterprise and ensure that all those state-owned entities are going to the relevant ministries. Now, this announcement of yesterday, we are hopeful that we are going to be taken into confidence exactly what does it mean, not only ourselves as Cosatu, but I think the entire nation needs to understand for how long is that ministry going to exist? Is it a phasing out of the DPE? Because the president has not said anything regarding that. When he does his reshuffle, are we going to see change? But what does it mean to the mandate, as you put it, of moving ESCOM to minerals and energy? But we are hopeful that through engagements we'll be able to get more clarity on this issue. And we do not want to say the president is doing it on its own. He has his collective that he works with. There is an NWC of the NEC of the ANC. We are not sure how the processes would have gone for us to be where we are today in terms of the announcement. But we are looking forward in hearing more about what this ministry is going to do. Really, is it going to be here until the national disaster is over, or is it something that is going to go beyond? Is it not going to be a further bloated cabinet? We are not sure. We still are waiting for more details on this.
Which becomes the argument of many, that they were looking forward to a more compact cabinet, that over time we'd see the doing away with some portfolios here, but now it seems there's an increase. But what I'm getting from your conversation is that as an alliance partner, you were not necessarily aware. One would assume that yes, in as much as this is government, there would still have been conversations as partners where you were all consulted. Surely there would have been something you would have known of a ministry that's coming.
Indeed, we did not get to be consulted on this issue. But look, we are still to meet with the alliance partners, hopefully on the issues of the intentions of a reshuffle of cabinet, just to share our views on these matters. But as we say that, we are also mindful of the fact that we have the president, who's the president of the ANC, who has the responsibility to govern and has been given those powers. So at some point, we should be able to give the ANC the space to be able to do that through its president. But we are hopeful that we would get more onto this. Look, Cosatu has never shied away. If this does not make sense to us and we do not understand it, we'll continue to raise our views, just like any other South African, on these matters.
But
particularly, if I may just add that we have the public servants that have been waiting for their increases of 2018 that were never paid. We have public servants that are now going on the negotiations. And if you are going to add more ministries when government has said that the fiscus is under strain, there is no money to pay the public servants, it calls for a bit of contradictions, because then you ask a question, would that minister of electricity be coming with all the benefits that the ministers would be having? What does it mean, and how does that affect the fiscus of this country, when the public servants who have carried the burden of taking this country forward during COVID has now been told that as much as we respect you, as much as we think that you have done good work, but unfortunately we are unable to give you better working conditions, and also in terms of a salary that you should be earning to take care of your family.
Then on the just transition, the president reiterated government's program that they're forging ahead with the just energy transition, but emphasize the fact that there will be job creation. That is what they want for those perhaps in coal that might lose their jobs. Were you a bit comforted when listening to him emphasizing the job creation aspect?
Indeed. We have participated on the just energy transition as a federation, Cosatu, at the level of NEDLAC, and also in all manner of discussions, including in COP27. So what we've always advocated for, and will continue to advocate for, is that this just energy transition must be just, and by it being just, it clearly states that it will not leave anyone behind. We expect that when government understands this transition and how it should look like, part of it is to ensure that we create jobs instead of losing jobs, is to ensure that we do not take models that would instead of taking us to green economy, it will shed more jobs. South Africa is not ready to do away with coal. The conversations that we must be having is how we're going to transit with the people of the areas where the coal mining is taking place, but ensure that during the transition, relevant skills are given, but also what is the alternative to reduce the emissions with regards to coal. So those are the conversations that we continue to have, and we think we're not going to back down on this issue, but we're happy that the president has given us a bit of a comfort to say that, look, no jobs will be lost. We will be creating jobs we are here for a mixed energy, and we want South Africa to define its own journey on this matter.
On the cost of living, are you satisfied? I mean, he touched on it, speaking about the 350 and the millions of individuals that are now recipients of that 350. And then he also spoke about possibly increasing social grants, but that's detail we'll get from the finance minister. Were you satisfied? Was that enough detail on just the cost of living issue?
We were happy that the president has answered to our calls for the extension of this social relief distress grants, and ours now is to continue to push for it to really become the basic income grant that we have always been calling for. So we are happy with what, and we'll be waiting, as the president said, for the Minister of Finance to really give us the details insofar as that is concerned.